there's a little kicker, and then it's pretty much all straight towards the top of the Poggio, but that's the time to go. It's where the road kicks up in gradient. One last tough time, and that's where you can make the gaps. The heads are starting to go between the shoulders. Pedersen, Mate Mohoric is just hanging onto the wheel there. Wout van Aert back in about 8th place, and then behind him
there's the
splits.
There's the split, and Girmay is caught out in the next split. If you need to get across now. Sturven waits because he knows that Pedersen is up in the front, and we're down to 8 riders, no more, and that could be that. Wellens has done his job. Trentin watches, and now if you want to get across, you've got to go now. It's Wellens still going. Behind, trying to come across, was Nilsen Paulus in the pink jersey. That's Wellens done. It's Pogacar time, and he moves, he goes. Can he open up some free road?
Well, as soon as he went, there was a look over the shoulder from the Alpecin rider, Hermans. He has to let it go now. It's Ghana who can go across to the wheel of Pogacar. Wout van Aert, and then Mathieu van der Poel. The big favourites come to the fore.
It is Tadej Pogacar in the white and black. Just behind him you can see in the red jersey Pippo Ganna. And then it's still that 1.5 bike lengths that have to be made up by Wout van Aert. Van der Poel is just about hanging on everybody else. Unless there's a slowing up, you can count them out. We're approaching the top of the Poggio. The wind is blowing an absolute gale. And it's Tadej Pogacar who once again is going. This time he kept his powder dry. He saved it for one big move on the Poggio. He's been able to distance everybody, apart from these 3.
Yeah, and he would be, I think, maybe happy to go to the finish with Gunnar, much less happy to go to the finish with Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel. He's making it as hard as possible. Here's Mohoric, Mats Pedersen, and Hermans then.
Søren Kragh.
Søren
Kragh is a 3rd rider. Søren Kragh is a 3rd rider in the blue. 5.5 kilometres, and now it's Van der Poel who makes his move. Van Aert is the one struggling. Pogacar is trying to respond, and Mathieu van der Poel is having one of those days. Wow.
You could see through Tirreno Adriatico he was on the up. He won the Cyclocross Worlds. He needed a bit of time to recover, get his road legs, and he has pounced.
Over the top of the Poggio he goes. If he holds this gap, he could be about to join his granddad as a Milano San Remo winner. He hasn't got a huge gap, but neither did the man who's about to come around the corner this time last year. Mate Mohoric being followed by Mats Pedersen, and of course the teammate of the man out in front. This is Mathieu van der Poel on the left-hand side. He's already a winner on a couple of occasions at the Ronde of Vlaanderen. This is one that'll be hoping to add to his palmarès. He's got 5 kilometres to survive, but it's not over yet, Robbie McEwen.
No, well, it's that age-old battle, isn't it? Van der Poel versus now Wout van Aert, who's gone to the front in the chase group behind with Gunnar and Tadej Pogacar. Van der Poel, he needs to nail every entry, every apex, and every exit hard on the pedals. Huge power out of it to try and open this gap. Wout van Aert swings wide, dives through the apex. They can see him all the way down. Van der Poel, he'll be hoping that there's a little bit of, well, less cooperation in the group, and Gunnar was just losing the wheel out of the corner.
Perfectly around. There are few better bike handlers than the man in the blue jersey. But is he gaining anything? Wout van Aert is still in the game. The greenhouses glisten. And they'll be looking down as they take those risks and fly around the corners. It's Mathieu van der Poel, it's Wout van Aert, but this is not the cyclocross field. It's the first monument of the season, and there's just under 4 kilometres to go.
Well, look at the pressure that Gunnar is under. He's losing lengths to Wout van Aert in every corner. As Van Aert, he knows if he doesn't go full risk, he will not get near Mathieu van der Poel. They've been in this situation so many times in their careers, mostly in the mud and across the grass and the gravel. Now it's on the Poggio di San Remo, the descent down to the finish line on the Via Roma, and Mathieu van der Poel, he'll be thinking of his grandfather Ramon Pulidor in 1961. Oh, how he would love to have a matching win.
Over 60 years have passed. Wout van Aert, though, trying to put that pressure on the pedals, trying to make sure he can come across. Let's not forget that with just over another kilometre to go until we get to the bottom of this descent, and then those almost interminable, difficult 2 kilometres. You don't see the finish line until you get to the fountain. The crowd waiting on that line start to see the first riders emerge. Will it be one or two? Will it be a big group? This time it's going to be the former. This time it looks like it will be Mathieu van der Poel with that explosive move on the Poggio that looked very similar to the one we saw when he blasted off to Strade Bianche success the other year. Mathieu van der Poel is back to his very best, and at the minute, unless these three can get organised on that flat, he's riding away to a monument victory, and it looks like he's building his gap, Robbie.
The gap is opening to Mathieu van der Poel. Gunnar and Pogacar have come back to the wheel of Wout van Aert, and Mathieu van der Poel is his head down. Everything he's got, the gradient of descent has evened out. Now he's almost at the bottom. When you swing off the bottom of this descent, it's an incredibly long 1.2 kilometres through to the final kilometre, and they will see him dangling in front, but the cooperation not there at the moment. Gunnar looks over the shoulder. Pogacar now comes through to the front.
At the bottom of the Poggio, 2.2 kilometres to go. Mathieu van der Poel out in front. Pogacar, Gunnar and Van Aert speed off the ramps and onto the flat. They have to be mates. They have to get organised. Otherwise, it's a Dutch victory for the first time in almost 4 decades.
Well, I'm going to say now, Rob, it wouldn't matter how organised they are, they will not catch this man, barring incident or accident for Mathieu van der Poel. He targeted this race. He built himself up slowly after winning the Cyclocross Worlds. Strade Bianche was a struggle. Tirreno Adriatico was a perfect training opportunity. A couple of big lead-outs to help his teammate to the win, because his mind was on this race. Milano San Remo, and Van der Poel over the top on the climb of the Poggio, gapped them, dived down the descent. He will win on the Via Roma, and these guys will be fighting it out for second.
It's 6 seconds with just over a kilometre to go. Gunnar fights, gives everything. Wout van Aert wants to be in the mix as well. A look behind. How far are they behind them? Little will it matter, because he's approaching the famous fountain now out in front. And the city of the famous festival is going to hear a Dutch song after the finish line, I think, for the first time since the 1980s. There is that turn, and now they see there's one rider out in front in the lead. His name is Mathieu van der Poel. The first monument of the season, the longest of long days, energy saving, tactical acumen, but you have to have the punch and the power on the Poggio. Mathieu van der Poel had every little bit of those. He sees the finish line ahead, he powers away, a look behind, and he cannot see anybody. This is his race, 6.5 hours of racing. Van der Poel last year became the first Dutchman to step on the podium since Frans Maassen in 1989. It's now been nearly 4 decades since a Dutchman won San Remo, and Mathieu van der Poel is going to do exactly what his grandfather did in the 1960s. Mathieu van der Poel is a monuments man again. Mathieu van der Poel is a Milano San Remo winner. Behind the battle of a second, and it's Filippo Ganna who looks like he might take it. A big sprint from the Italian, a podium place for Van Aert, 4th place for Pogacar, but all the headlines go to Mathieu van der Poel. Dutch success. Behind, his teammate will win the sprint. Great ride from Søren Kragh, but Mathieu van der Poel does what Kalper did in 85, Ras did in the 70s, and Den Hartog managed a decade earlier. Mathieu van der Poel is a Dutch winner of Milano San Remo. It was said earlier on in today's broadcast that Mathieu van der Poel has those days. He's not always consistent, but today Mathieu van der Poel was a very deserved winner at the first monument of the season, Robbie McHugh.
What a demonstration from Mathieu van der Poel. Not even 2 months after winning the Cyclocross Worlds. Short rest, get the road legs going. All the congratulations coming through to him, deservedly. But Van der Poel, what a phenomenon he is.
all the world's attention on this man. One by one, they congratulate him.
Rob, he can target a race like very few can. He can bring himself to a level, and then in the moment when it really counts,